In this video, I'm going to talk about pCloud and pCloud Drive and transferring files to and from pCloud Drive, using it so that you can work from the cloud to your local machine, to your local machine's hard drive. So to start off with, I'm using a Mac, but the same things apply to Windows. It's all very similar. So on a Mac at least, the pCloud is up here, up the top, and I already had it open. I'll just go back to Preferences, and in here, the first thing that you'd want to do is show file status icons. Just make sure that's ticked. What that will do is it will put green ticks on files once they have fully transferred over. If they don't, as they are transferring over, you will get this blue sync icon. So from pCloud Drive, let's say that you wanted to work on a whole bunch of files. Say you were working on them in Lightroom. Lightroom will not allow you to work from a virtual drive. It has to be on a local drive. So you might want to grab some photos. That's just, one example. But for whatever reason, when you drag files over from pCloud Drive to your local machine, you simply just, as you would in normal Explorer, if I can grab it, there you go, is copy it across, and it will start copying across just as any other file or folder would on a normal hard drive. The difference is that the speed is going to be much slower because you're going over the internet. Now, depending on your connection, will dictate how fast the transfer may happen. If it's going to be multiple gigabytes, you may need to wait several hours, depending on your connection, perhaps leaving it overnight. It's just the nature of working remotely, and this is what we have to do. I've found pCloud to be as good as any cloud provider out there. It does its service well. So yeah, that's essentially all there is to say about that. So once this is copied across, it's still coming across, but I've seen it on Windows as well. You will see that it will start off with blue icons, and then as they start to sync, you'll get green icons. Okay, so these files are transferred over. Now, I didn't say exactly what I meant to say. These icons only appear in pCloud Drive. On my local machine, these icons are not going to show up. So grabbing this folder from here, as it transferred across, the speed that you saw was the speed that I got, and there are the files ready to use. Now, let's say I want to take files and I want to put them onto pCloud Drive. It actually gets a little bit more in-depth. So let's go through that. So I've got a folder here, the final folder, and it doesn't really matter what folder it is, but it's 3.3 megabytes, which will be nice and quick for this demonstration. So dragging this from my local machine over into pCloud Drive, and I'll just dump it on Scenic Gems there. So we can see that the speed was extremely fast. All the file structure is here, and depending on your connection, it'll seem blazingly fast that the files have transferred over. But there's a little bit more to it. These blue icons here mean that the files have not transferred over yet. What's happened is that pCloud has put this information into its application in a cache folder. So the thumbnails and the names and everything have transferred over, but the actual image data has not come over yet, and these will go green as time progresses until the transfer is finally complete. Now, as I said, this final folder was 3.3 megabytes in size. Now I'm just going to go and use, on Mac, it's a program called OmniDisk Sweeper. What this does is it will audit my hard drive and show me what files are taking up space on my hard drive. On Windows, there is a program called Tree Size, and it does essentially the same job. It's very lightweight, it's free. So I'd encourage you to download that. It's a good application to show you what is taking up space on your hard drive. Now, if I just refresh this, we'll see that in here I have a cache folder, and at the moment it's got 5.4 gigabytes. So this folder, it grows every time I get files and I bring them over to pCloud Drive. I must have had some size in there already. It usually grows by the same amount that you're transferring. So essentially, pCloud transfers over these files blazingly quick, which is just the structure. It puts all of the information into a cache folder, and then it starts bringing this information from the cache over through pCloud, and these blue icons will turn green as it does so. Now, once this transfer is complete, if you don't have a very large hard drive, you would probably want to remove the cache here. It does remove itself once it's transferred, but I would just encourage you to keep an eye on the cache folder. So there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can come into Settings for pCloud Drive, Disk Usage, and then you can clear the cache. Or you can just use a program as I am, like OmniDisk Sweeper or Tree Size, and go ahead and delete this cache folder. Don't delete this cache folder until you've got green ticks back on pCloud Drive. If you do clear it this way, the hard method, you may need to restart, log out and log back into pCloud Drive. Now, there's one other thing that I'd like to talk about with pCloud Drive that will come in handy. So let's say that we've got a new page to build, as an example, and we're going to go to Resources, and I'm going to get a new location folder, and I'm going to put that on my hard drive over here. And in image production, I may fill up this raw file with, if I'm a photographer out on the road, I might be filling this raw file up with photos. Now, as you go through the production process, there is a way to sync these folders with pCloud. So every time that you're connected to the internet, and every time you output an image, once it goes into this folder, or this folder, or this folder, it will automatically sync to where it needs to be on pCloud Drive. So, for instance, we might have a destination called the Blue Mountains, and this folder would not be here yet. So we've got a new location folder, and we're filling this up with photos, and these folders here are going to be filled up as the production phase begins. So what we can do is right click on the folder and sync to pCloud. And here basically, if you click on one of these, so the folder location, you can select the folder location of where it is on your local machine, and then you can choose the folder where it is on pCloud Drive. So essentially you create a link in between your local machine and pCloud Drive. If files turn up in if we synced these three files here, these folders I should say, and files appeared in these folders, and this was the synced folder with its final folder, post and pre, these would sync across and these would fill up with the images as well. Be mindful that on your local machine, if you go into, say, the final folder and you delete images from the final folder, if the sync is in place, it will delete them from the final folder on pCloud Drive. So just keep in mind that if you are going to be using synced folders, once you're finished, before you delete it off your local machine, just to go back into settings and take off the sync before you delete it off your local machine. So that's essentially it. There are a number of things there that are kind of work in the background and you wouldn't really know about them, particularly the cache folders and things like that. So it is important to realize how pCloud Drive works. Once you understand that, it is very intuitive and works quite well. It can be rather slow, depending on your internet connection. It really doesn't matter how fast an internet connection you've got. We are dealing with large files, so they do take time. But essentially, that's it for now on how to use pCloud. I've just opened up the final folder, and here you go. You can see the green ticks are all on those files now. There is a icon here. I would wait for that to go green so that you know that the files are fully transferred across.